everyone, welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for our Game Week 12 team selection video. The video where we'll go through our Game Week 11 scores as well as our transfer and captaincy decisions for Game Week 12 as we chase that top 100,000 place. Hopefully, and we can move on even further than that. But guys, we need to move to our Game Week 11 scores first of all. So if you do enjoy this one, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you're new around here. Let's have a look. Okay, so in the disaster nightmare game week that was Game Week 11, I know some people did very poorly, and it looked like I was going to be in the exact same boat. That is until one man saved my game week, and his name is Cole Palmer. A 12-pointer from him at the Spurs game. Maybe a little bit fortunate with that, with a penalty and the kind of a goal when, you know, Spurs only had 9 players. It was kind of fortunate, but, you know, you put yourself in the position to be lucky when you pick penalty takers, and making that Solskjaer to Palmer move has gained me 11 points. So a transfer I'm really happy I made last game week. So yeah, worked out well last week. Everything else in the team pretty much worked out very poorly. Trippier with a 9 pointer was one of the few saving graces in the remainder of the team. Gabriel, very unfortunate not to get a clean sheet there as well with that goal conceded to Newcastle. So aside from that, Trippier and Palmer, it was a pretty dead game week for everyone. So I'm not too worried. A 35 points gives me a green arrow of 40,000 places, which puts me within touching distance of the top 100,000. In fact, I only need to gain 3 points above the average around my rank in order to move into game week 12 with a green arrow into the top 100,000. So I think it's very possible that it might happen this game week. Finally, I really hope so. So I'm going to show you guys how I plan on doing that. So, yeah, let's roll through my team first of all. We've got one free transfer, 0.7 in the bank. Let me show you what we're dealing with right now. First of all, we're going to go for Areola in goal at home against Nottingham Forest. My other goalkeeper is Turner, which is not so great. I'm just really hoping that West Ham, they're in a pretty tragic defence so far this season, but I'm really hoping now that the fixtures are finally a little bit better, they might actually be able to keep a clean sheet somewhere. I mean, you look at these next 3 fixtures, Forest, Burnley and Crystal Palace, 2 of which are at home. You've got to think that a clean sheet is coming very soon, and hopefully some save points as well from Areola, because we know he's capable of making a save. So hopefully, yeah, we can get a change in fortune as Areola owners. Moving into defence, we've got Kieran Trippier, first of all, a player who I'm actually very happy to have. One of the few players who actually impressed last game week of the kind of popular template picks, I guess. But yeah, definitely happy to move forward with Trippier. I think he could be a season keeper, to be honest. I'm really happy to have him. Bournemouth is a really good fixture as well. Don't score too many goals in Newcastle. You back them to keep a clean sheet on any occasion, and because of the kind of player that Trippier is, do expect him to get bonus points as well. The one small concern is that given that Trippier might be playing on the left-hand side of defence with the Dan Burn injury, I do wonder whether that is going to impact his output. It remains to be seen. There is obviously a concern there, but at the end of the day, we own Trippier for the clean sheets and the bonus points, not necessarily to get attacking returns all the time, because he gets the bonus points either way, doesn't he? So another not 9-pointer against this Bournemouth team, even if he doesn't really get any attacking returns, is absolutely fine by me. That's why I bought him for those 9 pointers very consistently. Next up, Matty Cash, who is available. Yes, he's available, which is fantastic news for all us Matty Cash owners, or maybe it isn't, because he hasn't scored super well recently. But, you know, you look at Aston Villa, their form that they have right now, particularly their home form. You place them up against a Fulham team that, you know, struggles a little bit in attack. It's a game at home. Is a clean sheet going to come here? Again, Aston Villa, not a team I've been impressed with defensively, but when you combine the attacking output Villa show at home with the potential for a clean sheet against an easier team, if Aston Villa are going to keep a clean sheet at some point, it's going to be against a team like Fulham. So I do still think we should be backing Cash now that we know he's available. Definitely not a priority transfer out, I'll put it that way, but maybe we could think about moving him on in the near future. We've got Spurs up next, Man City in a couple of game weeks as well. So Cash is right now a player I'm pretty set on. We've got Gabriel as well. Disappointing last game week, but overall I'm still happy with Gabriel. Like, Burnley at home is a fantastic fixture, one of the poorest attacks in the league so far, and Arsenal are, you know, they're moving up the tables in terms of how good their defence is as well. Their defensive numbers are really good. Gabriel, don't think he'll get rotated, don't think he'll get rested. I don't see any need to do that. Arsenal really need to play it a little bit safer. Can't afford to rest players right now, particularly with the kind of injuries and issues further up the pitch. I think certainly the defensive unit needs to be there, and that is going to involve Gabriel. He is their second best centre-back, you'd probably say, after Saliba. So at 4.8 million, I think he's going to do really well over the next 4 game weeks. And a player I'm very happy to own. I think he's an absolute bargain. He'd be a player I would recommend to other people people as well. Clean sheets are coming, points are coming, and I cannot wait for it. In midfield, we've got Salah against Brentford. Not the best fixture in the world, and Salah has kind of not really passed the eye test recently, but we know what Salah is like. He has the knack of getting points. It's a home game for him. We like Salah at home in general, so I don't know what's going to happen in this one, to be honest. He probably ghosts all game and still manages to pick up some FPL points. Couldn't quite manage that against Luton, but yeah, it's a new game week and a new opportunity for Salah to get us some nice cheeky points, because that is what he does. He's a cheeky guy who gets cheeky points seemingly out of nothing, out of nowhere. That's why he's like the king of FPL, right? We've got Heung-min Son up next, a player I am going to keep. I'm keen on keeping him. I still think his form is pretty good. He did blank against Chelsea, but he could have scored in that game. In fact, he was marginally, it was a toenail offside in his goal against Chelsea. So, you know, in a slightly different scenario, if the wind had changed, you know, ever so slightly in that game, then maybe we could be coming away with a Son 10-pointer in last game week. So I still think he is a player who I would consider in form. I would consider him a player who looks very, very good. He's just, yeah, he looks good every single game. And I would even consider captaining him against Wolves. The question is about, you know, some of the availability of some other players, such as Maddison, who is also in my team. If Maddison is unavailable for this game against Wolves, then that could create some problems for Son, because you're going to lack a little bit of creativity in that Spurs team. With the problems in defence as well, is that going to go on and impact the whole team? Not sure. Could be a high-scoring game, to be fair. Spurs will still be going all out, and, you know, maybe we can get something from Son and Maddison if he's available as well. It's a question mark, though. What we've seen from the kind of news at this exact moment, since recording, or around recording this video, is that Gareth Southgate, the England manager, has said that he does expect Maddison to be in the England squad and playing for England. So if that's the case, then is he going to be fine for this weekend? I'm not sure. The good news is on Maddison, and Son to be fair as well, is that we are going to get, hopefully, early team news. And I'll try and update you guys in the deadline stream this week. I do have a Spurs source, so hopefully we can get some Spurs news for you guys. But it's the early kickoff, so it's very likely that we'll find out for sure whether Maddison is playing or not before the deadline hits. And that's going to be a real advantage to us. So for now, I think I hold on to Maddison. But when we get closer to deadline, if I get some news about that one or we're unsure, he might be a player that we have to kind of think about removing. And to be honest, I think there is argument to say remove Maddison even if he is available, because do you want to be double Spurs attack over this run of fixtures? It's okay. There are some okay fixtures in here, but are we desperate to be doubled up on Spurs when there's so many other good options in midfield at the moment? Possibly not. Next up, we've got Diaby, who, again, a player who I was a little bit concerned about until I kind of remembered this is a home game for Lamar, not exactly the strongest team in the league. Could we see Aston Villa remind us all why they are so brilliant when they get back to home? Because when they play at home, you know, they win where they score 3-4 goals per game, which has been quite crazy this season. Is that away game against Nottingham Forest going to be an outlier that maybe actually tricks us and confuses us and makes us kind of doubt our Aston Villa assets when they are so brilliant? So Diaby, you know, didn't do well in game week 11. I can't lie about that one, but the game week before, they did very well. So when you take it on balance, against Fulham at home, I am growing in confidence in Diaby, but he's not a player I would be desperate to keep. It's a bit of a strange one there. And finally, we've got Cole Palmer in midfield. Obviously, he has got some, you know, some tricky fixtures, some good fixtures and some bad fixtures. It is just what it is. We don't love it, but I think once we get past these next two fixtures, things are going to look a lot better. So Man City and Chelsea back to back, they're not great fixtures, but at the end of the day, if you think that Chelsea score one goal in this game against Man City, for example, is Palmer going to be involved in that? Possibly. You know, he's on penalties. You never know when you're going to get a penalty go your way. He is obviously a very creative player, probably the most creative player in the team at the moment. So you never know, get a cheeky assist there as well. So I don't know. He's at 5 million, at 5.1 million, he's definitely a player I am happy to hold and have and play. Would I be buying him necessarily this game week? I'm not so sure about that one. But as we know, as I mentioned last week when I bought him, he's a player I want to own in the long term. So I'm very happy to have him in my team. But I'm not expecting too much from him in game week 12 or 13. I'll take whatever I can get. If I can get 1 assist over the next 2 game weeks, I think I'll be pretty happy with that. And then after that, we'll already have Cole Palmer in place for the future game weeks where they do look so brilliant. So a player I'm happy to have, but not a player that I'm expecting too much from, if that makes sense. Up front, we've got Erling Haaland, away game against Chelsea. Chelsea obviously a pretty tough defence, but so, yeah, you never really know, but City and Haaland, they're back in form. We saw Haaland score 2 goals in the midweek Champions League game, so you know there's no worry about his injury. There's no worry about rotation, really, in my opinion, in this big game against Chelsea. And I've not really got a doubt about his form either. I think he's going to be in cracking form going into this game. So still definitely a captain option as well. And we've got one more player who is Watkins, who I also think, you know, Aston Villa at home against Fulham is another potential captain option. It's a really tricky one this game week to try and figure out who to captain, isn't it? You could just default to Salah, but, you know, Watkins is there as well. He has blanked 2 games in a row, but if you ignore the Nottingham Forest away game and you go back, things start to look a little bit better. Even in game week 10, yes, he blanked against Luton, but actually he looked pretty good in that game. He played pretty well. He was unlucky not to get attacking returns in that game. So moving forward, will the bad luck continue? I don't know. I think it actually could go pretty well. And Watkins, a player I'm also keen to keep in my team, because Tottenham is the next fixture, and Tottenham are going to be missing Van de Ven, missing Romero in that game, and it could be chaos time for Aston Villa attackers to kind of do the business. Plus, we've got Bournemouth after that as well. I know they're away fixtures, but still, I'm still backing Watkins. I think he might be one of those season keeper type players, so we'll see about that one. But certainly against Fulham, he's a very good pick, a very interesting pick, and I think he'll score well. On the bench, guys, we've got Turner. Like I say, you know, don't even know if he's going to play or not at the moment. He's kind of very rotation risk at the moment, and West Ham away. West Ham know how to score a goal, so not really expecting a clean sheet anyway. We've got Kabore against Manchester United, Taylor against Arsenal, and Nottingham Forest, Mubama, who plays against Nottingham Forest. So, yeah, as always, a very thin bench. That's the way I like to play my FPL, and so far it's been working. So, yeah, no real concerns from me having that weak bench. But, you know, I'm going to be honest, I don't hate Kabore against Manchester United as a backup, which sounds a bit strange to say, but genuinely, I don't mind it that much. You never know what's going to happen in a game like that after Luton were able to shock Liverpool. The spirits are going to be very high compared to Manchester United, where the spirits probably going to be very low after that Champions League disappointment, I guess. So this is what I'm dealing with, guys. I need to figure out, I've got 1 free transfer. I need to figure out, am I going to use it? What am I going to do with it if I do? First of all, who am I willing to sacrifice? Who can I take out of this team? And I think I can take out the Aston Villa guys, Cash and Diaby, partly because I was disappointed from last game week, but also because I think because we've got Spurs and Man City, the fixtures are not as good after this Fulham game. We have got that Bournemouth game, of course, but it's an away fixture. Am I confident in my Aston Villa players in Cash and Diaby? Well, they're okay, but can I find better options? I think certainly in the midfield position, I think I can probably find a better midfielder than Diaby right now, maybe at least after this game week. And for Cash, yeah, Aston Villa still not keeping clean sheets. Don't expect them to keep clean sheets against Tottenham or Man City, really, or even Bournemouth, given their defensive form. Fulham is maybe the last chance for these 2 guys before I do start thinking about moving them on. If not, it's going to be Man City, the Man City game in game week 15, where they probably do have to go by that point, to be honest. So they are players who are on the chopping block, but I think I'm willing to give them 1 more chance. And that moves us on to Maddison, a player who I don't know if I do want to give him 1 more chance. It's not because that I've been disappointed by Maddison, really. I think he's been a pretty solid player to own. But again, we go back to, can we do better? Can we find better? We've got players like Saka and Bowen, you know, doing super well at the moment in really good form. Can we go to those players and gain more points than we would do from Maddison? Particularly when you look at some of these fixtures and think, you know, we've got the Man City game, the Aston Villa game is okay, but is it amazing? I don't know. Do I want to be doubled up? Is Maddison even going to be available? If he is available, is he going to be playing 90 minutes? Or is he going to be playing, you know, 59 minutes and get me another 1-pointer? I don't know. And there's a lot of mystery around that. And yes, I am going to wait until the deadline before making my moves, as long as there's no price changes that kind of price me out of any moves I want to make. But if I'm removing any player from my team right now, it is Maddison, because the rest of my team, particularly for this game week, I actually really kind of like, aside from obviously Palmer, but he's a long-term hold. So yeah, Maddison is probably the guy to remove if I'm going to remove him. But we need to figure out which players I want to bring in so we can try and work out what my best move is going to be. So, I mean, goalkeepers is still Johnston. He's the one goalkeeper I'm looking at the moment. There's no forwards I'm interested in at the moment in particular. Nketiah would have gone in the forward section, but there's now doubt around his availability for this game week. He is carrying an injury at the moment, which basically brings us to defenders and midfielders. And I've already identified a defender and 2 midfielders I'd be willing to sacrifice. So, who can come in? Well, for defenders, I have got my eye on Estupinian. He is an interesting player. He should be back and available for this home game against Sheffield United. That's nice. That's very, very nice for a player like Estupinian, isn't it? You possibly get the clean sheet there. We know what he's like in attack as well. That is a really high upside pick right there. Can I afford to do it? Well, technically, yes, but it would mean sacrificing in other areas. It would mean that I would be priced out of Saka pretty much completely, for example. So I don't know if it's the right move for me. Obviously, we've got a lot of game weeks coming thick and fast as well. We've got a midweek game week as well. Is there going to be rotation for Estupinian, considering he's just coming back from injury? Possibly. But I do think Estupinian should be nailed on whenever he's available, to be fair. We've got Mitchell and Gahey, the Crystal Palace defenders. Nice in the short term. 4-game week punt. Quite nice. Pick up a few clean sheets during that period, I'm sure, but doesn't really excite me that much. Don't expect Mitchell to score a goal every game week. He doesn't score very often, let's be honest. We've got Lascelles here, though, who I do think is really interesting at 4 million. Looks like Botman's going to be out for a long time. So if I did want to save a little bit of money, maybe Lascelles would be an option there for me. But I don't know. I don't know how I would do that. Would I sell Kabore and get Lascelles? Would I even play Lascelles right now if I had him? Probably not. I already have my 3 defenders who I'm happy with. I like Trippier, Cash, and Gabriel for this game week, so I don't really need to make that move right now, but it's definitely a player who I've got my eye on. In midfield, we've got Saka, of course. If he's available and it looks positive, he's another player. The Gareth Southgate said Saka is expected to be in the England squad. You know, apparently he's feeling good at it and he wants to be involved if for England. Does that mean he's going to be available this weekend? Again, we don't know, so I will be waiting for press conferences, but I feel like I would love to have Saka in my team up against Burnley. Now, he did really, really well. Fantastic performance in the Champions League against Sevilla, so hopefully back to his best. We've got Martinelli there, of course, if you want to go a different route for the Burnley game. If there's no Saka, you do feel like Martinelli might become the star of that show. Bowen is, of course, definitely an option. Really liking the look of him, but I can't have both Saka and Bowen. I need to choose between those 2 players, but Gordon is worth a shout as well. With Wilson potentially out for the Bournemouth game, we could see Gordon playing actually as the central striker, which could be really interesting. So a real good opportunity for Bournemouth, for Gordon owners. Maybe I'd like to get involved in that one. Could I do Diaby to Gordon maybe? Or would that be, you know, getting too many cheap midfielders in my team? Because I also have Palmer. Not sure how I feel about that one for structure in my team, but it's definitely something to consider as well. So with all of that said, I've got a couple of options, I think, and this is what they are. So, first of all, we could do Maddison to Saka. It's been a move that I've been eyeing up for weeks. I've kept the money in the bank to do this move. I have the exact money in the bank to do this move. Maybe I should just do it. If Saka is available, if it looks positive for Saka for this game against Burnley, I think I pull the trigger regardless of whether Maddison is unavailable or not. But certainly if Maddison is not starting, that's going to really encourage me to make that move. And it becomes basically a slam dunk transfer. Really obvious. Just got to make that move. My other option, if Saka is not available and neither is Maddison, so if neither Saka or Maddison are available, then maybe Bowen is the player we go for. Maddison to Bowen looks pretty good as well. We just like Bowen at the moment in great form, looking good every game, looks like scoring every game as well. And the other option is to roll the transfer. So, for example, if Maddison is available and Saka is maybe looking unlikely to be available, then I think at that point I just roll the transfer. But Maddison is very much on the chopping block, whether he is available or not. As long as Saka is available, I think I make that move. So let's go with that one. So, yes, guys, like I say, we're gonna make the move. We have the exact money in the bank. So, Maddison out, Saka in. As long as we find out Saka looks good to go for Game Week 12, I think I make this move. But, yeah, like I said, there's a few moving parts to this one, and I don't want to make any guarantees. I want to wait till press conferences. I think it's super important to wait to get the full story, the full information before pulling the triggers on those moves. But Saka is my most likely move, and I really like the look of him. Don't think I would captain him, however, because I think I would throw the captain's armband. I mean, right now I'm on Salah, captain, and Erling Haaland with the vice-captain, but am I that convinced by Salah for this game week? Not really massively convinced, but I don't know if I have a better option, to be honest. There's so many, like good options. There's no great option. There's no standout option. There's no player in this team that is really screaming out to me saying, captain me, captain me. One of you, well, come on, scream and shout. I want to be convinced, but yeah, I'm not convinced at the moment. So I think I'm just going to default to the template Salah captain pick for this game week, to be honest, unless something changes or, you know, my mind changes or someone can convince me otherwise. But let me know, guys. I know there's probably going to be a bunch of different captain picks that you guys are going for this week. Try and convince me. Tell me which player I should captain. I would love to hear your thoughts because I am open to changing this one. I'm not set on Salah at all. Don't think he's that interesting more so than any other player really, but I'm just defaulting there because I can't really make a decision, to be honest. Quickly having a look at the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool to see where my team looks like on this. Yeah, check this out if you want to in the description. Really good tool for help planning your team and making transfers and suggesting transfers to you. Obviously, you've got the AI predicted models as well in there. It is saying that Gabriel is most likely to be my lowest scoring player this game week, but I do think I actually disagree with that one. In fairness, Maddison is at 4 predicted points, I think due to his injury concern. So yeah, maybe a small worry on that one. I'm interested to see what kind of suggested transfers I have. Is it kind of similar thoughts to what I had or not? Let's have a look at that. Okay, so my first suggested AI transfer is to remove Gabriel as the lowest predicted points player of the game week and replace him with a Superman. So yeah, actually I can see it. I can see it. That would, again, though, it would price me out of Saka, which is why I don't think I can do this one. I need to have at least the option to get to Saka if I want to. So I don't know if I'm willing to do that. Plus, I do like Gabriel. I really do. So I'm going to click on the don't sell button on Gabriel, and I'm going to try and get myself a new recommended transfer to see if there's any other options for me. Okay, this is a really interesting one. Maddison out and Bruno Fernandes in. I'm pretty sure it would say Maddison out and Saka in if Saka wasn't flagged in FPL right now. So completely understand why it's trying to go a different route. But yeah, Maddison is a suggested transfer out, but maybe Bruno Fernandes is the player to bring in. He plays against Luton, so you can definitely imagine that Bruno could get some points in that game. Oh, I don't know. This is just making it so hard to make a decision, right, guys? There are so many options right now, but I think that's what's so exciting about FPL, isn't it? So, yeah, Maddison is another player who could go out for sure. I think, you know, maybe this has convinced me that Maddison is the player to remove, but am I convinced by Bruno? I don't know. So back to my team selection page, and yes, I've put in Saka in this game week. I think his future game weeks look really good at the very least. I mean, we can click on Saka right now, have a look at his information, and you can kind of see it. Like, his predicted points are not just, it's not just about the Burnley game where he's like flagged, might not get as many points because of that flag, but we've got like Brentford 5.1, Wolves 5.9, Luton 5.6. It's a decent run of games for him. So yeah, I think I've got to get Saka in. So yes, basically praying for him to be fit and available because I think that solves all of my problems in FPL in general, but there we go. So yeah, do go check out the Fantasy Football Hub AI My Team tool. It's really helpful for planning out your team. The link is in the description. You can go check that out absolutely for free. But aside from that, make sure you drop a like on this video. Do subscribe if you're new around here. Go check out another video. There's loads of Game Week 12 content on the channel right now, particularly the 100 Experts video, which I uploaded yesterday, which is a fantastic episode. And the captaincy decisions being made by our experts are crazy. And you guys do not want to miss that one. But aside from that, I'll be back tomorrow where we'll be rounding up all of the press conferences and answering your final questions in our Friday video. So until then, thank you so much for watching once again, and I will see you later, mate.